Hey, welcome everybody. Again, this is my Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. I do every Monday at noon, and we have a special guest today. I hope you guys are excited. I'm going to introduce you really quick. But before I do that, I'm going to let a few people get live. And while we do that, give me a heads up in the chat box and let me know the city and state you're logging in from. I want to give you a few shout outs, and then we're going to dive into the interview. Just so you know, today we're talking about how to become a digital freight broker without investing millions of dollars in technology, right? And so that's why I have this special guest on today. I'm going to introduce him in a minute here, but I've known him for quite a while, and I've known him from afar even longer because of some of the things he's been able to do in his career. So I'm excited that he's here, and you should be too, because we're going to get a lot of information today. And then at the end, after this quick interview, we're going to do some live Q&A, right? So if you guys have questions about how to become a freight broker, or TMS technology, or freight broker software, or anything related to becoming a successful freight broker, you can ask myself and my guest at the end in a live Q&A format. But for now, again, I'm based in Buffalo, New York. My guest is in Florida. And where are you based out of? I want to get a little bit of a sense of where you guys are at. I'll give you some quick shout outs, and then we'll get the ball rolling. Okay, cool. So here we go. We've got Edelis from Grand Rapids, Michigan, 8-wheeler from New Hampshire. We got Katina from Texas. We've got Start Your Logistics in Long Island. We got Chelsea Sullivan from Boone, North Carolina. We've got Janelle from Cape Coral, Florida. Eva from Michigan. Jomo Mighty from Florida. We got Renika from Surprise, Arizona. We got Regina from Raleigh, North Carolina. LDC from Sharpsburg, Georgia. Stacy from Tampa, Florida. Brian from Waterloo, Ontario. So now we got Canada. We've got Val Eric from Valencia, California. Tej Sethi from Toronto, Ontario. 1217 from Orlando. Hey, listen, welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. We're going to cover some really cool shit today, okay? And this is stuff that you're not going to hear anywhere else. This is stuff that you're going to get the most current and advanced information that you can as it relates to becoming a digital freight broker. And we all know technology and digital is having a huge impact on literally every industry. I don't care what industry you're in, it's having a huge impact. And today you should be able to leave with definitely some nuggets on how to leverage that technology to launch and grow a highly successful freight brokerage. Okay. So what do we got? We got Jason from Minnesota. We've got Dooley Boys from Houston, Texas. We got Sammy from North Dakota. Am Phillips from Venus, Texas. Talsha from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've got Grace from Tampa. Carlos from Florida. Russell from Spain. What? Holy cow. Awesome. Cool. Willie from Texas. Carlos from Miami. Tony from LA. Houston, Rodney from Amarillo, Texas. Got a lot of Texas in the house. A lot of Georgia, Texas, like normal. Well, listen, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for joining me on this live. You know, I do these lives every Monday at noon, and today is a special one because we have a special guest that I'm going to introduce right now. His name is Tim Hyam. Now, Tim not only is the CEO and founder of Ascend TMS, okay, which has like 40 or 50,000 TMS customers across the world. Okay. So they're huge. He's also, prior to that, was also founded and grew his own very successful freight brokerage. So he has a very different perspective, right? He was a broker first, and then he developed some technology, and now has one of the most advanced TMSs out there. And so I invited him on today because I want to get his take on this whole digital freight brokerage phenomenon that's taken place. So welcome to the show, Tim. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate it. And just for the record, the title is How to Become a Digital Freight Broker Without Spending, millions. But if they want to spend millions, they can do that. I mean, just if they want to.
Yeah, I would not recommend it. That was my route. No. That was the route that I took. And most people that, follow me know that. I invested well over $1 million into develop my own TMS and technology
Easily.
Over the course of, well over. It was countless amounts of dollars that I spent. And Tim can attest to that because
he's invested all the time, right? I mean, so that's the hard cost is millions of dollars to get hire programmers, but that doesn't account for all the headaches and the time it takes and Dennis's costs, sleepless nights.
Yeah. developing software is extremely difficult. And you hear everybody like, so it costs twice as much as you think and take twice as long. Nope. It's going to cost 10 times what you think and take you 20 times as long. It's just the way software is. So where you guys are very fortunate, and I don't want to get out too much on a tangent, where you guys are very fortunate that are just coming into the industry now or relatively new to the industry, is that technology has come a long way since I launched in 2003. I developed my own technology back then because there wasn't a whole lot of good technology, right? There just wasn't a whole lot of good freight broker TMSs out there. There were a few, but the ones that were out there were really pricey. And so I decided to develop my own. And if I started today, I definitely would not. I'd be using Ascend. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No questions asked.
Dennis, when we started the brokerage, we were a nice size brokerage. We got to about $40 million in revenue. And we actually also had assets as part of that. And like everybody on the show, everybody listening knows you have assets as a broker, because even if it's just one old truck parked behind, in the parking lot behind your building or behind your house, it's because when you call somebody, you want to say, the first question they say when you call a shipper, well, do you have assets? And you can look out your window at your 1973 Peterbilt and you can say, oh, yeah, we have assets. So we had assets as well. So quite simply for that reason. And when we started years ago, I'm talking about the early 2000s, like you did, there was only 2 or 3 of the big name TMSs out there. I won't name them. And they were good systems. There's nothing wrong with those systems. Not as good today because things have caught up with them, but you needed $100,000 easily, plus you needed a full-time IT person. You needed to be technically savvy. And that was really the realm of just the chosen few that could afford it and had the tech expertise to do it. And they talk about, we now today, Dennis, talk about the democratization of freight and business. And what we've done, if you look at the technology available to a small broker today, and you go back 20 years, what you can get today for, literally a cup of coffee per day is what you would spend $100,000 to $200,000 on 20 years ago. Yeah, pennies. People don't appreciate it because they don't have that history. And I try to share that with people. Honestly, we're all very spoiled right now, right? We're all very spoiled. If you didn't live in those days where, number one, the internet speed isn't what it is today, and technological advancements aren't worth what they are today, and the price of technology going down literally through the floor. And now you have companies like Ascend and other software companies that are out there spending millions of dollars to help develop a product that you can basically rent or use for like $50, $100, a month, which is peanuts. Absolutely. Right? And we can say, people are spoiled, but I like to say, people are privileged today. So spoiled, yes, but privileged also, because that's true. The privilege is the opportunity that it provides for a small guy or lady, a small husband and wife team, or a couple of friends to be able to create a business that 20 years ago was very, very difficult to do unless mommy or daddy or somebody gave you a couple of $100,000 for software and for, accounts receivable. Now you can get a TMS that's plugged into the financial resources you need, factoring resources, pay me right now. You press a few buttons and you don't need an accounting person anymore. This is a privilege and an opportunity that is amazing, that has never happened before. Only in the last few years has this opportunity become available to the small person that wants to run their own business. Yeah, I agree 100%. All right. Well, listen, let's wrangle it in real quick and let's talk about something specific. Okay. Yeah. Let's get into this whole, why don't we start with this? Because I don't know where everybody on this live is starting. And, again, we have people that are brand new and are just learning what a freight broker is. And we have other people that have been in the industry for probably a decade. Talk to us about what is a digital freight broker? What is your definition of a digital freight broker? And what does that look like today? Yeah, so there is no exact definition of a digital freight broker, right? However, digital is a journey. So you can call yourself digital if you can do 1 or 2 things electronically, 1 thing electronically. But then if you can do 100 things electronically, you are more digital than the person that can do 1 thing electronically. So don't look at digital as an all or nothing situation. You don't just say, I'm a fully digital broker, because even the digital brokers today aren't fully digital. If you look at some of the big name digital brokers that are very good out there, the Uber Freights or the Convoys of the world, those guys do a lot of things in the background that are still manual. They're trying to digitize more and more, but they are more digital than the manual brokers of 5, 10, 15 years ago. And then even the legacy guard, all of these, by the way, are all partners of ours to some degree. But the CH Robinsons and the TQLs of the world are the legacy big boy brokers that, quite frankly, have come a long way. They've taken those processes that were manual and they're converting them one by one into more digital processes. So please don't think that you've got to have an MIT degree in technology to become a digital broker. What you need to do is find technology that allows you to begin that digital journey and then slowly but surely do things digitally, where before you would have had to put a human being and do it manually.
So let's do this. Let's give people a couple of examples, right? So when you and I first started 20 years ago in the brokerage industry, there was a lot of manual, right? There was a lot of manual going on, right? And even throughout the course of my time having my brokerage, LDI, we were working towards trying to create more digital format to streamline automation, to have a lot more automation. Give us a couple of examples of some of the things that used to be very manual, which are now almost automatically automated.
Yeah, there's so many. And so, one that I have a visual in my mind is I remember walking into the office one day and through reception, the receptionist at the office at the brokerage, used to handle all of the incoming paperwork from the carriers. So we would get PODs mailed in or faxed in. And I remember walking in one day and the poor receptionist, there was like 2 piles of paper. It was like something from a comedy show, like the Office or something. And so she was called Roseanne. And so there was a pile of paper. They must have been a 1.5 feet tall, each one, because the mailman had just come in. And I walked in and I couldn't see her head. I could just see the top of her head over this paper. And I said, like, Roseanne, what's all this? She says, oh, the mailman just came and this is all of the incoming stuff, for today that we've got to process. And what we would do at the time, we would open every single thing up and we would scan it all in, the typical kind of trying to turn paper documents into electronic. But that required a huge amount of effort. We had a high-speed scanner. But she would have to literally go open the TMS at the time and put in the load number. And then she would put the documents on the scanner, press a button, they would go through. And then those images were then now attached. But that would take hours and hours and hours for her to do that.
Yeah, it was almost a full-time job.
It was a full-time job. She barely had time she shouldn't have been called the receptionist. She should have been called the
scanner.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so today you don't have that issue. You don't have to have the issue. If you still want people to mail stuff to you, hey, God bless you. But if you don't want it, there are so many resources today. For example, with Ascend, and I'm not doing this because other TMSs do this, but a driver, when he finishes your load, can literally text in the image of the POD. And when it texts it into Ascend, we look at that image and then we assign that POD and the documents, including lumper receipts, whatever they have, to the right load. And we basically show you on the screen, hey, this is the documents for load 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it look right? Yep, that looks right. That's it. There is no scanning. There is no zhu machine. Same with TransFlow. We're connected to the TransFlow network. So documents that come, if your drivers that you use, TransFlow is the most widely used app on all driver phones today. If they take a picture, same thing. That document comes into Ascend and we assign it to the right load. Trucker tools, if they have trucker tools and they do the imaging there, it comes into Ascend. We assign it to the right load. Are they using the Keep Trucking ELD, which about half of the market is? If they are, they can take a picture with the ELD or with the Keep Trucking app, and that comes into Ascend and is attached to the right load. So that is one example of something where today you don't need to have that individual human being doing all of the documentation and the paperwork scanning, and that would save you, let's call it $40,000 to $50,000 all in. That's a $50,000 savings that 20 years ago, me and you, Dennis, we couldn't get out of. You had to hire that person. Today, you don't need that person.
100%.
Profit.
The logistics, freight, transportation business is extremely paper intensive. At least it was. And so that was one of the first big hurdles that we tried to build into our own technology, much like Tim built into his when he was running his brokerage. And the same thing has happened. Other service providers have created solutions and now TMSs are integrating with them. And so now that issue is all but gone, right? That issue is all but gone. You have all kinds of options there. So that's a perfect example of taking something that can be very manual, and you can still do it very manual today, and saving an enormous amount of time, right? And an enormous amount of time, energy, and money, which is ultimately going to drop right to your bottom line from a profitability standpoint.
Yeah, and so, so I'll give you another example. Is once you've got the load is finished, there's no OS&D, everything's good, no claims, and you've got the imaging. Before, you would have to print all that out, and then if you had a factoring relationship, you would have to then either mail or go to their portal and then upload everything. Today, we have integrations with hundreds, maybe 80 different factors through the HubTran network. TriumphPay Audit, TriumphPay, but bottom line is you can pick from a list of all the factors you use. And then when you have want to get paid on load 1, 2, 3, 4 again, you just say get paid. And what we do is we send all the load information inside Ascend along with all the paperwork. It goes into the back office system over at your chosen factoring company, whether it's Triumph Business Capital, Loves Financial, Engaged. I mean, all of the big guys. And you can send that to the back office, and then they ingest that. They read it and process it. And then the next time you look at Ascend, literally 5 seconds later, it says it's in processing, it's been approved. And then it'll say on the screen, do you want that sent to your personal account or your checking account, your fuel card? How do you want that broken up? And then you choose, you press a few buttons, and hey, presto, the money, if you factored $10,000 of invoices, you can get 8,000 put into your business account, and you can put $2,000 onto a cash card or something.
Yeah, no, and listen, before I forget, because I should have mentioned this at the beginning, for those of you that stick around to the end, Tim and I have a special offer for you. Okay. And it's definitely one you're not going to want to miss. If you want to learn a little bit more about Ascend and their TMS and how this whole process works. And, we're going to have a really great, crazy offer that you're going to get access to at the end, but you got to stick around with me. And I just don't want to forget that. So make sure you stick around here. You can sign up for a free account plus a bunch of other stuff that we're going to
there.
So,
so when Dennis invited me onto the show, he said, look, I want to give something to my viewers, and so we put our heads together and came up with something that I think that is going to be really beneficial to anybody listening. If you've been in the business for 1 week or 1 year or 10 years, I think that what we have to give you for free, completely free. I think it'll be blow your mind, because nobody else is giving away this stuff.
Yeah, and I don't want to skip over this, but I want you guys to understand something. Freight Broker Bootcamp and Ascend TMS now have a formal partnership. It is the first and it is the only partnership with any TMS provider. Okay, so you have to understand that. I have not partnered with, I've been doing the training for over a decade, and I've not partnered with any companies. I feel comfortable enough with Tim and his team and his technology that I'm more than willing to put my reputation on it. And that's why I had him on the show. So we have a formal partnership. So that's why we put this offer together. We put this webinar together. We put this training together because we really want you guys to understand what a digital freight broker is and some of the steps that you can take to leverage digital to help increase your profits, make your job easier, spend less time. And that goes whether you decide to use Ascend or any other TMS, but this is just going to help educate you as to what exactly is out there and how to start leveraging it. Okay.
Yeah. And this is not an advertisement for Ascend TMS. There are literally hundreds of TMSs out there. And I joke sometimes that, TMSs are like shirts. There's one for every occasion. So there are TMSs that are really good at heavy haul. There's TMSs that are really good at dray, business, import, export, working with forwarders. So I just want everybody to know that whichever TMS that you choose to use, or if you want to DM me, via LinkedIn after this, or maybe you, Dennis, I'm more than happy. If you say, hey, I'm in the X business or the Y business, is your TMS good for me, or what TMS should I use? We have great relationships with other TMSs that specialize in certain areas, bulk, liquids, food grade stuff, hazmat. And so we're able to say, hey, our TMS will work for you, but if you're only doing hazmat or you're only doing, dray work, try this TMS. It's very similar to Ascend, no upfront costs, etc. So I want people to understand our objective here is to help you out, grow your business, whether it's our TMS or somebody else's. Exactly.
And so listen, let's pivot back into that example, because I want to talk. We talked about taking all the paper out of it, right? We talked about, another very labor intensive process and a timely process, which was the whole factoring component.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about how we can talk about Ascend, or we can talk about just TMS in general. If you have a specific feature in Ascend, that would be great. That allows people to source carriers and drivers faster, get access to more drivers, to be able to cover more loads. Because that's one of the biggest challenges that I hear right now from brokers, new and old, is that capacity is tight, depending on the type of equipment and market you're in. Can you talk a little bit about how that works inside of Ascend, or just in general as it relates to how technology is making that more profitable?
Yeah, so we've got relationships inside Ascend with several capacity, let's call them aggregators. But there's something that even you don't know about, that is an announcement we're about to make. The press release actually will go out in a couple of weeks, and you're literally, and Dennis, you're the only person to know this, but there's a system out there that's been around for many years called carrier lists. And carrier lists essentially is a massive database of all of the carriers on every particular lane. They've been around for a long time. And so we have a relationship with them where we're going to be putting out a press release in 2 weeks. We have an offer for anybody that's an Ascend user. We'll be able to use carrier lists for 30 days for free at a price that is unheard of. I mean, when they came to us and said, hey, we want to do this, we have other aggregation products inside Ascend that we said to these guys, look, if you want to help out the small guy, our average user, we have 44,000 customers using Ascend. Our average number of users per account is 2.8 people. And I know technically you can't have 0.8 people. It's mathematics.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have, 2 people and a short guy. So we have 2.8 people per Ascend account. What that means is that those individuals are having to find customers. They're having to do, all of the work to enter loads and to track those loads, but they also have to source capacity. And so we have this relationship with carrier lists that allows you to be able to say, hey, from Dallas to Tacoma, I have this particular load, and help me find capacity that is going to be nearby my origin point in Dallas, that's going to be emptying out today or tomorrow morning. And it'll give you essentially a list of people to start working with. They may have already moved that truck. They may have, basically booked the truck with somebody else, but it gives you a starting point. So we're trying to bring this digital technology to that 2.8 average users. Now I say, we've got a lot of customers with 1 or 2 people. We've got the biggest broker that uses us is $11 billion. We have one broker I talked to yesterday on Friday with 360 something users. So our user counts are all over the place. And what the bigger guys are asking for is capacity aggregation. Help us find trucks that are available from our loads. And when we do that technology trickles down to the small guy, because in Ascend, for all 44,000, when we put a feature out, you don't have to, ask for that feature. We turn it on for everybody. And whether you decide to use a feature or not is up to you. So that's an announcement that is new to you. I know it is. We just got the deal done.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah. So that's what technology does. That's digital freight brokerage right there.
Yeah, it's funny because this is what you guys have to understand about a company like Ascend, right? That has a cloud-based, TMS product like this, is that whenever they develop a feature, right, that's highly, that's in high demand, that usually comes from one of their big clients or a large group of their smaller clients. And then they spend months and months and months working on it, and tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to make it happen. They roll that out to the whole user database. So if you're the brand new guy on the block, you don't even know that wasn't available 3 months ago, but now you have the advantage of that. So this is where you don't have to spend all that time and energy and money learning technology, hiring programmers, managing programmers, product development, all of that. That's the reason why today, if I started a brokerage today, and I don't plan on doing that, trust me, I have no intention to do it, but if I started a brokerage today, I would use a third-party software like Ascend. Okay.
Yeah. Just to give an example, Dennis, on Thursday, this past Thursday, we do feature releases every 2 weeks. Whatever's ready every 2 weeks, we put it out to everybody. So on Thursday, one feature that you just reminded me of is Keep Trucking. I'm sure everybody's heard of Keep Trucking. It's and the ELDs are in half of the market out there. Well, they've got a load board called the Smart Load Board. And what that means is that if you can get a load into Keep Trucking's Smart Load Board, it means that all of those drivers on their ELD in their cab, when they end up at 123 Main Street in Dallas and they're looking for a load, they say, find me a load. And all the loads that the Smart Load Board has at Keep Trucking says, hey, Dennis, here's all the loads within 3 or 4 miles of you in Dallas at 123 Main Street. And that's in the cab of the driver. So on Thursday, we're one of the few TMSs to connect to that smart load board. So yes, you can post loads to all the major load boards inside Ascend. There's about 53 load boards that you can post to with one click of a button. It shoots this out to all the big name brands. But on Thursday, that same load now appears at Keep Trucking's smart load board, and any driver that happens to be available near your load can see it in their cab on their ELD.
Yeah. So you want to talk about being able to get access to small fleets and owner operators that are hard to find.
Yep.
That's how you do it.
Absolutely.
That's exactly how you do it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's the advantage. That's the advantage. So here's the thing, I realized a long time ago, and you, as well as you did early in the development of, your software and our systems, that technology, when you have I had large competitors when I started. CH Robinson was around and TQL wasn't quite as big, but there were all kinds of big brokers out there. Okay. When I first started back in 2003, what I realized was the way technology was going is that it could help level the playing field. Now, CH Robinson spends tens of millions of dollars a year on technology. Okay. And I'm just talking overall technology. I don't even know. It's a huge, huge budget that they spend on technology. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. And I'm never going to be able to do that. But the great part about today, where we are as it relates to TMS technology and just technology and innovation in general, is that you no longer have to do that. Their big problem is they've got hundreds of millions of dollars worth of legacy systems that they can't just abandon. Your advantage is you don't have any of that. You literally start with a clean slate with the most current technology there is. That's the reason why I had Tim on. I get hundreds of questions for hundreds of times per month, literally. I'm not exaggerating, through our blog and through the lives and through our YouTube channel and through the course that we have for Broker Bootcamp. Hundreds of times per month, we're asked, what's the best TMS to use? What TMS should I use? Where should I start with? What software should I start using? And to be extremely honest with you, I said, I got to figure this out because I'm sick of answering this question. And then I got to develop a relationship that I can then point those people to that I trust and that I know they're going to be taken care of. So that's why I did that. I had met Tim previous to this several years ago, and had a great conversation with him then, but I've kind of continued to follow him. And I just think that if you aren't a broker right now, don't stick your head in the sand and just assume that things are going to get better and that you're going to continue to thrive. You have to leverage technology, and you want to partner with the best technology partner that you can for the budget that you have. And we're going to show you at the end that you can afford most TMSs you can afford, right? Especially if they're web-based. But the offer we're going to make for you guys here shortly is it's kind of going to blow your mind. Okay.
Yeah, well, what I'd like to say, to the people listening today is that, when you and I started, Dennis, we would need 5 people to say do $5 million worth of business, right? That's when people start to really max out about $1 million per employee. But today you can do that same amount of business if you use the right technology with 2.5 or 3 people, maybe even less than that. It's not about adding more people as you grow. It's about adding the right technology so you don't need to add more people. So I see all the time people with 2-3 users in Ascend, they've got $6-7 million worth of business, and they're leveraging our technology, but other technology too, to be able to not have to spend $50,000 on another human being, which that other human being will max out at some point. They say, look, let's do it right. Measure twice, cut once. Let's use technology, hook it into Ascend or whatever our TMS is, and then we don't have to hire that $50,000 person. And if you go to our website, we put a list of the top 12 things to avoid when getting your new TMS. So if you're using spreadsheets and whiteboards today or another TMS, and you're thinking about changing TMSs, there's a list of 12 things on our website. I think it's in the features. Go to the features section of our website, thefreetms.com. You can't forget that. Go to the features, and it'll say something like 12 things to look for when getting your TMS. And whoever you choose, go through that list of 12 just questions and make sure. For example, when you and I started, Dennis, every TMS, it'd say, okay, we'll do a demo for you in a couple of weeks. But then when you decide to use us, we want $100,000 down payment. Plus, we're going to force you to go into a training contract and a support contract. And then every year, we're going to charge you 15% maintenance fee on top of and then you need these servers. And who's going to run your servers for you, by the way? So what we did is as we've grown up through the industry, you don't need to do those things anymore. So we've got that list of 12 things to follow. So you don't have to go back 20 years, using old, horrible legacy technology. You can get an advantage over a lot of the brokers that you look around. Brokers have been around for 10, 20 years. If you're new in the business and you use the right technology, it's like jumping into a Ferrari. You can bypass all the Hondas because they're still, they've got old technology. You don't have to be encumbered by that.
100%. And listen, I just want to remind you all, stick around to the end because Tim and I are going to be doing live Q&A. Okay. So once we're done with this quick interview, we're going to be doing some live Q&A. So stick around to the end and stick around to the end to get this special offer, because for those of you that aren't already an Ascend customer, and many of you may already be Ascend customers, if you're not already an Ascend customer, we're going to make a special offer where you guys can get enrolled for absolutely free. Plus we're going to throw a little bit of sugar on top there. So another quick question before we kind of wrap this up. So what do you think? You've developed a lot of innovations. We talked about some of those, removing paper and adding capacity and a lot of different features. And there's way too many to even consider talking about on this short interview right there. I've went through the system and there's hundreds of features that I didn't even have in my system. And I spent millions of dollars. So I know how difficult those are to create and integrate. But here's the question. What's the next generation? Just to kind of, for my own selfish perspective, as well as some of the people that are listening and that are a little more tech savvy or interested, what's the next generation of technology? What are some of the big innovations that you see happening as it relates to TMS that's going to really focus and help brokers? What's happening in the next 2, 3, 5 years that you think is going to have a huge impact?
Yeah, there's the two or three things that are happening. The minor one first is that people don't want to go into 15 different systems every day. What they have all basically decided upon, they say, look, I want my TMS. That's the little world I live in. 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. I want my TMS to be the one place that my people go to. And then I want all of the things that they want access to be integrated and connected to that TMS. They don't want to go into 15 systems anymore, retyping the same information again and again to do things. They want their TMS to talk to those other systems and be integrated without you having to know what an API is or how an API works. Most people don't know what API stands for. And so it's true, they just don't. But I think sometimes people like us that are I'm a technologist, we just assume when we're throwing out all these acronyms, everybody knows what we're talking about. They don't. What people really want is they say, look, all I know is I've got an account already with TruckStop or with TransFlow or whoever it is, and I want to enter my user ID and password, and I want it to work. That's what I want it to do. And so that's, I think, number one, ease of integration without APIs and complicated acronyms. But the most important thing that's happening is my prediction is in the next, between 5 and 10 years, I think that all freight transactions will be digital. Now, what does that mean? Today, if you have a load that you need to cover, you've still got to do certain manual steps. You post the load electronically usually, but then you've got to post that load and then you have to wait. And you wait for the phone to ring. But at the same time, you might also go on to say truckstop.com or a load board, and then you start looking for the trucks that are available and you start making phone calls, right? That's how you do things generally today. The future is going to be where the system you use, whether that's Ascend or another TMS, that system will say, hey, Dennis has a load available. And I'm going to go to 10,000 other systems that I know truckers use. And I'm going to look at those systems to find out who's got a truck available tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. within a 5-mile radius. And this isn't posting. This is literally look at that system is going to look at Ascend will look into every single system 10,000 times. And it'll say, oh, 38 drivers are going to be available within 30 miles tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 12 noon. And so the system is basically doing the matching portion for you. And then you're going to say, wow, this is great. I can see that this one doesn't have the right equipment. I need a 53-foot trailer. So you're going to further narrow it down. And then you'll get down to 3 or 4 drivers that are available. And then you will basically, it's like a matchmaker. You'll basically say, hey, I want to match now with that truck. That driver, the driver or the dispatcher at the trucking company sees a little thing pop up. Dennis has a load for you. Would you be interested in seeing this? Dennis has got a trust score of 99 out of 100. He's been using Ascend and paying his bills. I can see that he's profitable. he's a good risk for you, Mr. Driver, to take this load. And those two matches happen together. And whether that's a send talking to a McLeod system, or whether it's a TMW system talking to a TIE TMS system, it's all going to be system to system talking in the background. And all you do as a human being, you say, yeah, I want that truck. And the trucker says, I want that load. Everything then is transmitted electronically. I am sure there'll be a small fee to both entities. So if I'm the guy with the load, Dennis, there'll be a $5 fee. I'm making this up. You as the driver or the dispatcher for the trucking company, Dennis, you'll get charged $5. But you basically just covered a load with very little deadhead. Everybody's happy. And it's all done electronically. That is the future of technology. And I know it is because we are working with other entities right now to make that a reality. And I'm talking the biggest load boards and the biggest third-party freight entities out there to make that a reality. And if they're working with us, I'm sure they're also working synchronously with other TMSs at the same time.
No, that's a really good point. And this is the reason why, this is the core reason why I wanted to have Tim on, and I wanted to help educate you guys in this area, because I want you to know what's available today, but what's more importantly, why it's important to pick the right partner because of the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years. Okay. Yeah. If you're going to build a successful freight brokerage, it's not going to happen overnight, right? Maybe, your first year, the technology is going to help you this much. Your second year, the technology is going to help you this much. But in 10 years, when you've got a 20 or 30 or $50 million brokerage, if you're fortunate enough to do that, your technology is going to be the backbone of the entire business. Absolutely. And it's going to be the thing that allows you to be competitive from a rating perspective, because you're not going to have what Tim said. We used to have 5 employees for $5 million. Now you need maybe 2, maybe 3. And as technology advances, you're going to need even less employees because of the leverage and the automation and all the things that, Tim just shared with you. So,
and I've seen this. I've seen freight brokers start with a send, and I'm sure with other TMSs too. I can only speak for a send, Dennis. I've seen people start with one a user, and then 2 or 3 years later, I look again, or they call me up and I'm like, wow, now you've got like 11 or 12 people. What happened? Oh, yeah, they got a few customers. They started doing business with them electronically. Their service was good. They started to tap into these capacity networks that we have. Next thing you know, they've got 11 people. Now, if they're making 10, 12, 14 million in revenue a year, they're making a gross profit, of 1.5 to $2 million. You pay all the people, and the person that started the company has got $500,000 left over. He's paying himself $500,000 or $700,000 a year. They've built a really nice lifestyle business. You don't need to be thousands of people. You can get to 4, 5, 10 people, and you can have an amazing life and make $500,000 a year and create a lifestyle business using technology in supply chain.
Love it. Love it. Well, listen, we could sit here and talk for hours about all the features and all the innovation and all the things that are happening in and around the whole digital freight brokerage space. But what I want to do here now is I want to kind of share that special offer with them. So do you want to tee it up? Do you want me to share? How do you want to offer it?
So I'll tee it up, and then, you can just fill in the blanks if you want. So, Dennis wanted to put something together to allow the small broker that's just starting out, or somebody just thinking of starting out, to be able to, basically have the best chance of success. So what the offer is you get a send TMS through Dennis, through Freight Broker Bootcamp. You get it for 30 days for free, but we're putting in a shipper directory. So you get 26,000 shippers. The shippers, we have the credit scores, contact information. You can sort by location. And the reason that we threw that in is years ago, we used to charge for this, and you can buy other lists online. It'll cost you anywhere from $2,000 to $15,000 to get a shipper list like this that's been curated. And so we decided, let's go ahead and give that, to your students, right? Or to your program watchers, let's call them, to be able to give them the ability to hit the phones. You've still got to do the work. You can't just look at a shipper list and expect your phone to start ringing. You need to say, I'm looking for people that are in food grade products. They're in the, within 100 miles of Des Moines, Iowa. I need to know who the transportation manager is, and a phone number and an email. We will provide that for you. And then also to be able to give your employees, when you first hire that first salesperson, the salesperson looks at you like a deer in headlights and says, well, what do I do now? And I want people to be able to say, look, we have a shipper directory. Start at the letter A and work your way down to letter Z. And you will eventually, it's a numbers game, but the more people you call, the more relationships you make, the more business you will get. So that that shipper directory, we decided we're going to throw it in completely free for anybody coming from Dennis.
100%. So here, guys, here's what you got to do. I can't get this thing to do this, but I'm going to give you a link right now. Okay. Oh, it keeps on doing this, son of a gun.
Technology. Don't you love technology?
Yes, you do. I know I do. Oh, Lord. All right. So here's what you do, guys. You're going to go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com /TMS. Okay. But when you go to that page, it's going to describe the offer. You're going to be able to sign up for free. You get a 30-day trial. Plus you're going to get the 26,000 shipper database. But when you enroll, it's for free. The next page after that, you're going to be asked to put in a coupon code. In order to get the free database, in order to get the 30 days for free, you got to put in the coupon code FBBC. That's it. FBBC, Freight Broker Bootcamp.
Freight Broker Bootcamp.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is.
If they can't figure that out, you shouldn't be in business for yourself.
I agree 100%. So I'll get 100 emails from people saying, what was that again? All right. So it's freightbrokerbootcamp.com /TMS. That's going to bring you to the page. You can read all the details. And then at that point, you can enroll for free, a 30-day trial for free. And then from there, you have to put in the coupon code. I want you to make sure, because you're going to come back. Once you sign up and you don't put the coupon code in, we don't have time to go back and, redo all these accounts and try to tag them to different things. So you got to put the coupon code in. If you don't do that, FBBC in the coupon code, then you're going to lose out on the offer. You'll still be able to get a free account, but you're not going to get the $26,000 or the 26,000 shipper database, and you're not going to get any of the other goodies. And here's the thing. This offer, we were only going to make this offer available to Freight Broker Bootcamp students, but I'm making it available to anybody, but you have to get signed up today. If you don't get signed up today, this offer is likely going to disappear and will go to only Freight Broker Bootcamp students. Okay. So this is kind of a one-time short window that you have the opportunity to take advantage of this special offer, even if you're not enrolled in Freight Broker Bootcamp. In the future, this is probably going to be separate and exclusively only to people that are paid members of the Freight Broker Bootcamp community. So, we're going to see how things go, but right now you have the ability to get in there. So click the link, get enrolled, use the coupon code FBBC, and then you're going to be able to get instant access to the free account. You'll get the shipper directory, you'll get all that stuff, and you'll start learning how to use the TMS. And that, that's another important thing, that I really liked about the way Tim runs his business is he has all kinds of training behind the scenes, whether it be online or different training programs to teach you how to use the program.
It's all completely free. So there's no gotchas. There's no hidden fees. Look, try it for 30 days. If you don't like it, call me up and we'll send you to a competitor. But if you like it, the end of the 30 days, you can decide to put your credit card in and continue. As you add users, we just charge you for the additional users. You take a user out, there's a credit. You basically, so it's all done dynamically. Training is free. All training. We do training classes every single day at 2 p.m. And then on Fridays, we do kind of a questions and answers session. So you can come and ask anything you want. You can take those training classes multiple times if you want to. We do accounting, operations, sales. There's all different areas of the system that we train you on. And when you've got questions about brokerage in general or assets in general, just ask us, because all the people that are doing these training classes were freight brokers, experienced freight brokers. Many of them used to work for me and they've got 10 plus years. These are support people with 10 years in brokerage. And then on the support side, you got a problem, you got an issue, just you call us up. We actually have human beings, believe it or not. You call a free number, you speak to an actual human being that's got at least 10 years in freight brokerage, and they will help you. And that's all free. There's never a charge for this stuff.
Love it. Perfect. Well, listen, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Tim, thank you so much for joining me. I know your time is valuable. We are going to jump into some Q&A, but if you guys if you liked what you heard today and you're serious and you really want to take the next step to become a digital freight broker, check out that special offer. It's absolutely free. freightbrokerbootcamp.com /TMS. Put in the coupon code once you're ready to enroll, which is FBBC. You'll get that special offer. And why don't we jump into some Q&A?
Fantastic. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So guys, I'm going to leave that URL up on the screen. But what we want to do now is we want to field some questions. So I know there was a bunch of questions that came in during the interview, during the episode. What I want you to do now, if you want those questions answered, I need you to type those questions in again, because they're going to be lost somewhere in the feed, and it's very hard for me to scroll back through. So if you have a question that you want answered, and you want Tim to answer it, or you want us both to answer it, direct it to whoever you want, or just put it out there in general, and we'll both give our hot take on it. And then we'll go from there. So let's see. Yeah, I'll let you take this one, Tim. I think this is a pretty much a slam dunk for you. Of course not. It says, Tim, hopefully the shipper contact lists you're offering are from your Ascend users.
No, absolutely not. No, we sourced it from a Hoover's, a DMB. These are databases that ordinarily you would pay for, but we paid for them for you. And then we curated them because, you don't want a database. If you go to Hoover's or DMB and you pay them, and they're not cheap, by the way, and you get the information, there's a lot of stuff that is just not applicable to, because a lot of them aren't moving freight, or they're just moving parcel freight. What you generally want as a freight broker generally is you're looking for truckload shippers, and you want people that ship some kind of volume, not once every quarter. Ideally, you want somebody that's shipping at least 5 or 10 loads a week. Why? Because they've got a little bit of volume, but also, you want to be able to insert yourself. Today, those shippers are already using somebody else. If you've got 10, 15, 20 loads a week, they're already using another broker and some asset carriers. So what you want is a chance for that person to say, you know what, Dennis, Mr. New Broker, I will give you a chance on this one load or these 2 loads this week and see how you do. So yeah, we have a look at our privacy policy. We do not take any of your data. We don't sell it. We don't lease it. We don't give it to others. We don't share it. This is independent information that we've paid for you.
Yeah, he'd have been out of business a decade ago if that would have been the case.
Ago.
Trust me. Yeah. All right, here's another question for you, Tim. How much does it cost for each user once they're off the free offer?
$79 a month. That's it. So there's 2 programs. You can keep going on the free program. We have a free TMS, but I joke all the time. It's like going to your car dealership and wanting a car. And they say, well, we've got a free car, or we've got one that costs money. And you say, well, what's the free car? And it's got 3 wheels. There's no windows. There's no air conditioning. There's no CD player. But it's a car. It'll get you from place to place. And then what often people do, we give them the full 4 wheels and the whole leather, seats with the first 30-day trial, and they drive that car around and they fall in love with it. If you, after 30 days, decide not to upgrade, you still get the TMS. All your data's in there forever. We keep it forever, but you just lose all those amenities in that car. And what we often find is that people try to hold on for another 30 to 60 days. They hold on with their fingertips, and then they realize, you know what? $79 a month. There's only 2 of us, so it's basically $158. Let's go ahead, use this technology, and get the windows back and the CD player and all the seats in the car, leather upholstery. And you'll find that it'll pay itself in less than 1 day. You move 1 load with Ascend, and you'll do that in the first 30 days, and you'll more than make all the money back that you paid for it. And there's no other fees, by the way. That's it. There are no other add-ons. You don't need a mathematics degree to figure it out. It's either nothing for the basic stuff or $79 a user for everything we have.
That's the other reason why I love it, because it's super simple. There's not all this complexity in pricing and if then or this and add on this and all this. There's that confuses people and makes it kind of a bait and switch. That's one of the things I love about Ascend and how Tim has set it up. Guys, understand one thing. You will get access to technology that is worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. That's the title of this training, of this interview, how to become a digital freight broker without having to spend millions of dollars, right? For $79 a month. You're talking about less than $1,000 a year for the technology, for the hub that's going to run your whole damn business.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I'm sorry to get so graphic or, about it, but that's the fact.
You're passionate.
Yeah. It's crazy. Cause I spent the millions. I spent it, and I know That's $79. It's like a bubble in a piss pot. So
Yeah,
if you guys
by the way, you get all of the upgrades too. So every 2 weeks when we come out with new stuff,
right.
there's no charge. You'll
Yeah.
log in, it'll just say, hey, we've added these new features. Go to the new features area and you can turn them on or turn them off. It's up to you. But there's never like, hey, there's $15 for that and $10 for this. No,
Right.
it's just included as part of the program.
Yeah. So that was a good question about the cost. Thank you for asking. But right now you can get enrolled for free at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. You have to use the coupon code FBBC as in Freight Broker Bootcamp. Type in FBBC, it'll get coded. So you get the directory, you get the free offer, you get all the bells and whistles, and then you can go from there. Okay. So let's see what other questions we got. Cause I'm sure we have a shit ton. Oh boy. All right. I'm going to leave this to you. Jonathan asks, what if we previously signed up with this NTMS? Can we still get the shipper list?
Yeah. So because you asked the question, DM me Tim Hyam on LinkedIn, and just you might have to connect to me first. But if you can write a little message, just say shipper list in the message, and I'll see that. I'll accept it, and then I'll know who you are, and then I'll go into the account myself. And I'll flip it on and you'll see the shipper list.
Yeah. Just reference that there was the Freight Broker Bootcamp Live and the interview, just reference that. And I had a feeling Tim was going to give that to you, would be able to add that on your account. No. Yeah. I mean, listen, hey, listen, they're a customer of yours. So if they're already a customer, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, so here's a question. I'll take this one, and then Tim, you can chime in because you built your own brokerage, a very successful one. So Tia Bird asks, "What's the first thing to do to start your own freight broker business?"
Okay. Yeah, so there's an underlying question there, right? Do they have experience or no experience, right?
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of that depends upon your experience level. But I like to tell people, if you don't have experience, okay, if you have no experience in logistics, no experience in transportation, no experience in freight brokerage, right, and you don't have a lot of experience there, I tell people, listen, one of the fastest, least expensive, and easy ways to get started is to become an agent first. Because if you can't make money as a freight agent, you're definitely not going to make money as a freight broker, okay? Because the fact is, the agent job is easier. You don't have licensing, you don't have bonding, you don't have billing, you don't have collections, you don't have insurance, you don't have to worry about, paying for vetting technology and doing all this stuff. So being an agent is much simpler than being a broker. So I tell you, if you have little or no experience, starting as an agent is a great way to go. Just so you know, my average agent the last year I had my brokerage made $107,000 working from home. That was the average. Top ones made over $500,000 a year in commissions. Okay. I remember writing checks to agents for $100,000 in 1 month. Commissions in 1 month, over $100,000 went in their pocket in 1 month. And not like they had a big staff. They had 3, 4, 5 people. So trust me, a lot of that was going right to the Hip National Bank. So being an agent can be highly profitable. So if you don't have a lot of experience, you can start as a freight agent. I highly recommend that. If you do have some experience, maybe you're a truck driver, maybe you worked inside a brokerage, maybe you were on the shipper side, maybe you were a driver, whatever the case may be, but you got a little bit of experience, starting your brokerage can be a great place to start. The place to start is to educate yourself. You don't need to go out and get your broker authority as step one. Educate yourself, right? Learn, start researching some of the different niches that are out there, because I'm a big believer in riches are in niches. Start understanding, some of the technology that's out there. That's the reason why we put these free trainings out every single week. So educate yourself about the industry, educate yourself about the niche, educate yourself about the job. And then from there, once you're convinced that this is the right business for you, it's a very simple process to get your freight broker authority. It's literally, it's almost idiot proof. It's just not that hard to get your freight broker authority. There's a couple little check boxes you got to have, like you got to file with the FMCSA, you got to have a BOC3, you got to get a freight broker bond. There little stuff that you got to do in order to get through that first barrier. And then once
services that will do that.
There's services that'll even do that if you don't want to do it, right? If you have a little bit of money and you want to outsource that, you can do that, or you can just do it yourself. Most of the students of Freight Broker Bootcamp, they just do it themselves. They walk through this process, they check the boxes off, and the next thing you know, it's a month or two later and they got their broker authority. And in the meantime, they've been educating themselves. In the meantime, they've been upping their skill levels, right? And then I think another thing from there, again, we talked about the niching down. I think one of the most valuable skills, bar none, that you're going to need in order to grow a successful freight brokerage is the sales skill. And that's where a lot of people struggle, right? That's where a lot of people have fear. So the sales is an important part. So you're definitely going to want to invest some time and energy in learning how to sell in the B2B environment, which is business to business. That's part of the reason why I put together the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, which is which is the program that I put together where I take that piece of my brain and I share exactly everything I know about freight broker sales strategies, tactics, technology, system, the whole ball of wax. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of feedback from me on whether you have some experience or not. What's your take on it, Tim? What are your thoughts? You may have a little bit different perspective.
You said all the right things. And then, ultimately when you are ready to go out on your own and do it, assuming that sometimes you find that somebody's got assets and they want to start a brokerage. So they kind of already kind of understand the business in general.
Yeah.
But if you don't have, assets and you are literally starting on your own and you've already, got some experience with a brokerage where you work there or as an agent, what you need is when you go off on your own, there's one very important thing you need. One customer. You need at least one customer, because without one customer, everything else falls apart. Yep. So don't be afraid of going to shippers and saying, look, I'm brand new at this. I know this much. Can I meet with you? Can I buy you lunch, have a cup of coffee? I know that you've got freight and I just need to pick your brain. I need some help. Most human beings will say, Dennis, please. Yeah, I appreciate you calling and being and admitting that you want a little bit of advice. I've got 20 years of experience. I will give you some advice. Now your foot's in the door. You go in and then that person feels sorry for you. And they say, look, I do 20 loads a week out of this facility. I'll give 1 or 2 to you and I'm going to help you. I've seen that happen dozens and dozens of times where people ask for help, they get the help, and the next thing you know, they're moving 5 or 10 loads a week out of their little tiny brokerage. And you know the math. You can make anywhere from $100 to $500 a load. You can make a nice living if you can move on your own. Move 5 to 10 loads per week. You can make a very nice living in this business.
Yeah, no question. You don't need hundreds of customers. Literally, a small handful of customers. Yeah. You'll be making 6 figures, literally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, a small handful of customers. Good. Here's a question from PRS Logistics. Is the TMS available for Sales Accelerator students? Yes. So right now, it's available for anyone. If you go to the URL, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS, and you use the FBBC code. Later, when it's not available to the general public, it'll still be available to Freight Broker Bootcamp members and the Sales Accelerator. So if you're under the Freight Broker Bootcamp umbrella with any of the products or services we offer, it'll be available then. But my suggestion is, while it's available, the directory is available, the 30 days free, all the training free, all of the different things. I would just get enrolled now. Again, it's absolutely free. And you can continue using it for free, even if you're not fully ready to subscribe, because maybe you're just starting to get your first few customers. You can continue using it for free to the level that you need until you need those extra bells and whistles. So you can, again, I'm just going to point this out because I think it's important. People ask a lot of questions. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS, and you have to put in the coupon code FBBC. Okay. Good questions. All right. Let's see. Okay. So here's a question. I currently use ITS Dispatch. If I wanted to switch to Ascend, is there a way of transferring all the data from ITS to Ascend?
Yeah, we do.
That's all you, Tim.
Yeah, we do it all the time. We've moved people from every TMS that you could possibly name. So, we're familiar with the file format. We basically tell whatever TMS you're using, if you want to move, we tell you how to export it out of the TMS that you're using. And then we basically suck it in. And then we essentially convert that data into Ascend loads so that you have all of those loads, all of your load history, essentially, and your customer history, etc. Carriers are all transferred from whatever TMS you're using into Ascend, should you wish to do that. Some people, just for the record, some people say, hey, I'm going to switch over on January the 1st. And some people choose, I'm okay with kind of winding down my old system, December 31st at midnight and before, everything just gets wound down in that system. And the new system, they start clean. Why? Because you don't have a bunch of garbage data. And most people, after years and years of using TMS, you've got carriers that are entered multiple times incorrectly because somebody spelled them different ways, or you've got customers or locations all in different ways, all spelled differently. And you end up with just a complete and utter mishmash of data. So if that's your case and you constantly have bad data in your system, choose a date and move forward with the new TMS. Okay.
Yeah, the system's only as good as the data that's entered, right? So garbage in, garbage out, right? If
Yeah.
you have clean data, then doing an import makes a ton of sense. I
Life
agree
is
with
so much easier with clean data.
Yeah, clean data, and it's hard. Clean data is difficult to get when you have users that are interfacing with the system, because again, they're moving fast, they're typing
Yeah.
fast, they're doing things quick, and so sometimes they're not. Accuracy is not their number one concern when it comes to spelling, and so yeah, so I agree with Tim on that. All right, cool. Yes. Lucia, will this video be available after this live? I missed the majority of it. Yes, we are going. Number one, you'll be able to catch it as a replay on YouTube and or Facebook, depending on where you're watching. But then we will also release a edited down version of this into the YouTube channel as something that's going to kind of live there for an extended period of time. So yeah, there will be a replay available. Plus, we'll be launching an edited version of this very soon as well. So yep, if you missed part of it, no problem. All right. So does Tim's TMS also have common carriers?
Yeah. So we actually have common carriers that use Ascend, common contract, dedicated carriers. So yeah, if you're talking about though, if you're a broker or a shipper looking for carriers, then the answer to that is yes. We have, I think 18 or 19,000 fleets that use Ascend TMS every day, and the vast majority of those are common carriers. Basically for whole carriers.
Yeah. So that's huge in itself, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So here's a question from James. Is it hard to find short haul loads on the load board?
Well, so first of all, we're not a load board. So a load board is your typical, kind of the big names out there. Everybody knows, what the big load boards are. So we are not a load board per se. What we allow is for you to be able to post your load to about 53 right now, I think, load boards, so that carriers can see your loads, including ELDs like Keep Trucking, so you can get your load in front of actual drivers. When it comes to short haul loads, 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said there's not a lot of short haul loads essentially on most load boards or in any TMS. But today, because of the e-commerce revolution that's going on, there's a lot more short haul. And so, one of our largest growing segments is people that are doing short haul under 200 to 300 miles, certainly doing home delivery type stuff. People with a box truck or a small fleet of vans, kind of your Ford Transit vans. So we're seeing that more and more. So if your business is short haul, whether that to you means a box truck or a transit van or a pickup truck even, and you've got a small fleet of those moving things around your neighborhood, your city, your state, then you can still use Ascend. You just basically choose certain things in the setup to allow you to get rid of all of the big 18-wheeler carrier terminology, and you just basically then repopulate that for your transit van fleet or your box trucks.
Yeah. So, I think that historically speaking, what Tim said, finding short haul loads, 50, 100 miles, local stuff, day cab stuff, right? Stuff that's going to be, one pick, one drop, same day, or maybe, multi-stop, but it's all going to be a 1-day load, and drivers don't have sleeper berths and they're coming back home every night. Historically speaking, there's less of those on the typical load boards than there are full truckload multi-day pick and drops, right? But again, with innovation and with e-commerce and with all of the last mile stuff that's happening now, I think they are becoming more prevalent. But again, there may be even some load boards that are customized or specific to that. But here's the cool part.
If you're in the small short haul box truck, transit van, a hot shot type environment, if that's what you do, go to uship.com. Uship, USHIP.com. Uship. They had a TV documentary, I think it was on the Discovery Channel for several years, called Shipping Wars. Chris Lamb, I know the CEO really well. This is how Ascend takes people and says, hey, this is probably a better fit for you. Uship does an amazing amount of local short haul stuff for people with transit vans and dualies, hot shot type of environment, short flatbed trailers. So uship.com is the right place to go if that's your business.
Good. All right. All right. So here's a question from Great Business. How long will it take for this technology to evolve to the point that the freight brokers become obsolete. All right. So here's the question, and the one that I told you that everybody loves to ask me.
Yeah.
They love to ask me this question. So I've told them my take on it a million times, but give them your take from being someone who's focused on innovation and is partnered with all these different companies, right? I mean, you have relationships with a lot of these
companies. Many reasons why freight brokers are not going to become obsolete. So it's just common sense. First of all, let me just say that for the last 20 years, people have been talking about how freight brokers are going to go away. But every single year for 20 years, the percentage of freight that moves through a freight broker or a 3PL has been going up and up and up and up. Why is that? The big reasons are as follows. First of all, if I'm shipping, say I got a coffee cup here, let's just pretend I make coffee cups and I put them on pallets and I ship them all across the country to Bed Bath & Beyond and to Walmart. I'm in the business of making beautiful, beautiful coffee cups. As I start growing my business, what I want to do is I don't want to also be in the transportation business. I want to go to a person like a Dennis and say, Dennis, hey, you know how to do this stuff. I need you to help organize my docks, help organize my inbound and my outbound freight. Could you do that? And as a small broker, you say, absolutely, that's my job. And now you've got a very tight-knit customer that's probably very local to you that will grow with you. They'll give you more and more freight. You will help optimize that freight. And you essentially become their freight department, an outsourced freight department that is put on your shoulders to run for the coffee cup maker. So that's one reason. Another reason is as that shipper gets bigger and bigger and creates more beautiful coffee cups and starts doing business all around the country in every single store you can name, they get to the point where even if they could bring in all of that themselves, they don't really want to because there's a liability issue. If there's an accident or if there's an issue with a crash or somebody dies or runs into somebody and there's a lawsuit, what they want is a wall. That coffee cup manufacturer doesn't want to get sued. They want the brokerage entity that's got insurance in place to basically be the entity that protects them from lawsuits. Some of the biggest shippers around the country, they have their own brokerage departments. They might have their own transportation as well, but many of them have their own brokerage or their own MC number because they want to have that liability wall that keeps them from getting sued, that protecting the deep pockets. And finally, freight brokerages, small freight brokerages are afraid of getting trampled by the big guys. But there's a lot of shippers out there that don't want to work with the big guy. They want to work with Dennis because I like Dennis. He goes to my church. He's in my PTA. He's in my small town. He understands that I ship potatoes or onions because I'm in an agricultural area. And I want to do business with Dennis because my kids and his kids go to school together. If I was to do business with one of these, kind of mega brokers and I get assigned to somebody thousands of miles away and that person leaves, they're just going to assign me to somebody else and I'm just another number. But to Dennis, I'm important. As the shipper, Dennis will make sure at 3 o'clock in the morning, he'll get up and he'll take care of the problem because he's going to see me at church on Sunday. So freight brokers are not going away. Big brokers are not going away. Medium brokers aren't going away. And small brokers are not going away.
Yeah. And the only reason you will go away is if you don't innovate. And the only innovation you have to have is to pick the right partners. You don't need to be a technologically advanced, guru when it comes to technology, but you do need to pick the right partners. Okay. And so if you're operating on paper or you're operating on spreadsheets or you're operating on Google Docs or you're operating on an antiquated technology and you stick your head in the sand, you are going to struggle. In the next 5 to 10 years, you are going to struggle.
I should have said that.
Yeah.
You can't suck as a broker. You've still got to be, professional and have the right technology and run a business that you want to provide for your family. You cannot suck. So I should have really said that you still have a certain bar that you need to be at in order to be successful, including the technology component.
Yeah, technology is not going to put you out of business. It's just going to level the playing field as it relates to big brokers. So here's what you have to understand. 20 years ago, C.H. Robinson had really good technology, and what was available to small brokers was down here. Okay. I hope you guys understand this analogy. But since kind of the democratization of technology, CH's technology has gotten better too, but the small brokers technology has grown faster. So that gap is much smaller now than it's ever been before in the history of logistics and transportation. And this is what you have to understand. It's not going to put you out of business. It simply helps to level the playing field.
Agreed.
And that's the thing you have to take away from this, is that you have to focus on finding the right partner. And then you have to continually innovate inside your business too. This isn't just about technology, right? This is about your business in general. You know, it's like anything else. You know, you could have the greatest buggy whip in the world today, but nobody's buying it. But if you had that same buggy whip back in the 1800s, you'd be selling those things like hotcakes, right? So the fact is, hey, we all know the story of Blockbuster, right? Everybody knows the Blockbuster story. They stuck their head in the sand. They snubbed their nose at everybody and said that it wasn't going to happen. And guess what? Right? They didn't continue to innovate. That's the only reason why they fell to the wayside and we don't see big Blockbuster signs anymore. They failed to innovate. They ignored the signs. They ignored everything around them. And that's why they are where they are. But smart brokers, whether you're small or medium or large, could pick the right partners, continue to innovate, not only on the technology, but on the service and on the offering that you provide. And again, at the end of the day, I tell everybody this, you know, this is not, or you're not ordering a cab. Okay. This is not a one-time transaction where you're never going to see that driver again, or you're maybe never going to use that service again. You're entrusting this provider with potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of your product. A relationship needs to be had. As much as it's digital today and as much as it's going to be digital tomorrow, it's still going to be a relationship business. They're still going to have a level of trust in order to make that happen. And trust me, if you work for and I've told you guys this before, the advantage of being a small broker versus a big broker is big brokers give all of their best systems and talent to their biggest clients, and everybody else gets the fall between. They get what falls between the cracks. With you, they get the best because to you, that small client is a big client for you. So it's kind of that big fish in a small pond or small fish in a big pond. Trust me, that relationship is critically important. Without that trust, the number one reason why shippers don't do business with a broker isn't price. It's trust.
Correct.
It's trust. And so that trust isn't going to just disappear. And people are, you know, they're never going to have that level of trust where they're going to just completely entrust it into the digital world. They have to embrace it. But ultimately, I think those relationships are going to trump. And as long as you continue to innovate and you stay competitive, you know, I don't see freight brokerage disappearing anytime in my lifetime.
And that's why more freight has gone to freight brokers in the last 20 years. Digital technology has been increasing over that 20 years, but more of it's been moving over to freight brokers. It hasn't been going direct to the carriers.
Yeah, you guys don't get that. You know, if we were sitting here saying that brokers were losing market share every year, then, you know, then maybe you could point to that as an objection or as a condition or as a concern. It's not the case. Brokers control more freight this year than they controlled last year, than they controlled the year before. For the last 20 years, it's consistently went up. Okay. So, and technologies continue to evolve at that same sort of rate. So we're not going anywhere. I know that you guys have that concern, and I would have that same concern if I were in your shoes, but I assure you, Tim has been through this. I've been through this. And as long as you don't stick your head in the sand, I think you'll be good to go. All right. So let's ask a few more questions, then we're going to wrap it up. But before we do that, again, that special offer that Tim made, all you got to do, if you guys want to sign up for free and get that 26,000 list, that shipper directory list, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. And then when you enroll, you have to put in the coupon code FBBC. Okay. You got to put that in there. Otherwise, you're not going to get that special offer. Okay. So a couple questions before we go. Man, this thing ran long. I apologize, Tim. I appreciate you spending a little extra time.
That's
I know
good.
you're busy.
If people are interested. So
price listed, is it annually, special feature? Is it extra cost? Okay. So here's a question. I think we might answer this. The price is listed. Is it annually? Special feature is an extra cost. Special features and extra cost.
Pricing page. Pricing is so simple. You know, a 2-year-old could understand it. So it's basically monthly pricing. If you like Ascend and you've been using it for a while, we get often people say, hey, if I prepay, will I get a discount? And so we do give a discount, 10% for the whole year. If you prepay one time, we flip a lever on and you don't have to pay again for, you know, basically for 12 months.
Yeah, and you get a 10% discount for doing that. Correct. You're smart. If you know you're going to use it, you're smart to do it. You're going to save yourself some money.
We get a lot of people that do that.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's a good question.
Yeah, and there's no extra cost for special features. So the only thing that there's an extra cost for is EDI. So if Walmart says you've got to, you know, basically do business with us via EDI, which most of the big, you know, the top 1,000 shippers now, they want to do a business electronically, meaning they send you the business electronically. So the load appears in Ascend. It says, hey, Dennis, you just received a load to pick up in Dallas tomorrow at 11. If that's the case, that's called EDI, electronic data interchange. All it means is the load comes electronically. And so there is a charge for that. I think we charge $1.75.
But everybody charges for that.
Yeah, most people charge somewhere between $4.50 and $5 because they charge by the character. But everybody says, well, how many characters is a load going to be? I don't know. It's like saying, well, I don't know how much the burger is going to be, because I'm going to make up the price when you come to the window to buy your burger. We just say, look, if you get a load and it's got 15 stops on it, it's still $1.75 to come in electronically. If it's got one pick, one drop, it's $1.75. So if you get 100 loads coming from Walmart electronically, and you get charged $175 because you got 100 loads, not one person in the history of Ascend has ever complained about $1.75 because they just got 100 loads from Walmart.
Yeah, and they were all entered for you without you having to do any data. You didn't have to do any data entry.
Correct.
And if you are upset, I'll give you those 100 loads to put in manually, and then we'll see how you feel.
Yeah.
Elio Longoria has a question. Elio says, Tim, during the carrier onboarding process on Ascend, are freight brokers able to auto-populate the data fields using SaferWatch without having to subscribe to RMIS? Okay, so this is a very detailed question.
It is. So I'm going to try and simplify this. And again, if I don't answer the question correctly, please DM me. Happy to go into a more detailed explanation. But on March the 28th, which is about 2 weeks from today, we are going to be releasing My Carrier Packets, which is basically very similar to RMIS. It's onboarding. We also have an internal solution that's completely free inside Ascend that you can use called CQV, Carrier Qualification and Verification. So it does the basics for you, CQV, but a lot of people want to use My Carrier Packets or RMIS. March the 28th, RMIS will be live and available. My Carrier Packets. And I think about 4 weeks after that, RMIS goes live if you want to use that. RMIS, I know, is a more expensive solution than My Carrier Packets. But we're giving you two solutions. We're giving you the My Carrier Packets, I think, is something like $99 a month for unlimited onboarding. And I think the RMIS charges on a per onboard basis. But you've got two options there, including the free CQV solution that we already have in Ascend today.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this, just because there was a specific component to that. How about, is there any integration with SaferWatch? Is there any integration there or plans for that?
No, not today. So I actually have a call with Kendra Tucker, the CEO of truckstop.com at 2:30 today. And that's going to be part of the conversation. They just bought RMIS, and they, from my understanding, are folding everything into that RMIS umbrella, which includes SaferWatch. And so I'll know more at 3:30 today after that phone call. But I think that SaferWatch and RMIS is getting blended together as a holistic solution, which will include the onboarding and all of the ongoing management of the carriers that you onboard through RMIS. Like I said, I'll know more about that today at 3:30.
So the cool thing is by being a member of Ascend TMS, you're hiring Tim to do all this shit for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's doing all the heavy lifting when it comes to any sort of innovation. Or
and when we add these things, we are constantly every 2 weeks putting things out. So when we add these things, if you start using Ascend within a few weeks or a few months, the whole RMIS / SaferWatch solution will appear on your screen with whatever the offer is, and you don't need to do it yourself. It was done for you. You just have to press a few buttons.
Exactly. Perfect. All right. So we're going to do a couple more questions, then we're going to head out. Let's see. Does your system help build your broker credit? Okay. All right. So here's a question. This is a question Renika asked. I get this question a lot from new brokers, and I'll frame it. I'll give it a little bit different frame for you. New broker gets their first shipper. They post it on the load board. And because they're brand new, the load board shows they don't have any credit.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have NA or just a slash, and there's no credit showing on TruckStop or on any of the load boards. And that's one of the things they struggle with. Now, I do, just so you guys know, for those of you that do have that challenge, check out my YouTube channel. Go to How to Build Your Credit Fast. As a matter of fact, the gentleman that we just had a question from, Elio Longoria, was a startup last year. He overcame this issue. I came in and interviewed him. We did an entire training. He has an entire system on how you do that. So you can walk through that interview. Now, as it relates to the technology, Tim, I don't know. I don't remember seeing anything like that, but you could
No,
speak to it.
this is a question time memorial, right? Where everybody that's starting out in the business, you need to get credit. It's kind of like a newborn. A newborn, when they come into the world, doesn't have credit, a FICO score. Over time, as they get older, they need to try to navigate that. And if you're 15 or 16, maybe your mom and dad get you a prepaid card, and there's ways to do it. There are services and there are training programs that show you how to build credit, but there are also ways to, there are certain brokers. There are certain factors that will take a broker on, as long as they're what most factors are afraid of is if they're going to factor an invoice for you, pay you upfront before, say, Walmart pays you. They want to make sure that the carrier you used also gets paid. So there are companies out there. A good one for brokers is Axle Payments, AXLE.
Yep,
Axle
I
Payments
totally agree.
almost completely with freight brokers. And they say, even for brand new brokers, they'll say, Dennis, we'll take you on. This is the deal, though. We're basically going to score your shipper. Let's just say it's Coca-Cola. We are going to front you the money, when the load delivers, making sure all the PODs are clean. And then we're going to pay the carrier that you used. And we're going to do that work for you. And then you get to keep the profit. So as you use organizations like that, just by definition, your credit will get better. But sometimes you're going to have to use a factor like an Axle Payments, like a Triumph Business Capital, in order to get yourself on that credit ladder. And then you can start building more credit.
Yeah. And I would highly suggest you go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freight brokers. Right. And if you go to that and you check that out, you'll be able to find the video that I did with Elio Longoria that says how to build your credit fast as a freight broker. And we walk through step by step some of the things that Elio did. And trust me when I tell you, his first year in business, he just hit $1 million in sales. He had no experience.
Fantastic.
He had no experience. He jumped into this, didn't have any background in it, and did $1 million his first year. So he hit the ground running, and that was one of the obstacles he had. And so that's why I had him on to go through and do that training. So you guys can check that out. Okay. Can those of us that have signed get the shippers list? Yeah, he already answered that question. If you message him on LinkedIn, you connect with him on LinkedIn, Tim Hyam, and then you mention Freight Broker Bootcamp, Shipper Directory, he will connect that to your account if you're already set up. Now, you already have to have a pre-established account with him, right? If you're already a paid member, you already have to have that.
I just need to look real quick. You have to have an Ascend TMS account. Otherwise, I can't link it to nothing. So
yeah. Okay, so here's a question because James is a little confused. So this TMS has loads as well, or am I misunderstanding the software? Okay, so it's not a load board.
Correct.
Understand something. This is not a load board. This is the origin point. This is the hub of every freight broker. This is where you enter your loads, you connect them with your carriers, and you connect that to an invoice. This is your operating system for a freight broker. This is the central point that your whole business is going to be run upon.
Yeah.
Now that TMS,
it will manage your business from A to Z. It will do everything to run your business, but you've got to have loads to put in. If by using Ascend magically, Walmart doesn't know, to start sending you loads and get you set up. You still have to do the work to get customers. However, I will say this: if you're a carrier using Ascend, Ascend is connected to all of the major load boards, shippers, some brokers. So if you're a carrier using Ascend and you've got Jose, the driver, that's going to be at 123 Main Street in Dallas tomorrow at 11 a.m., we are able to say, hey, Jose, here's some loads that are available for you to be able to move if you're a carrier, but you've got to be asset based. In this particular case, we're talking brokers only. You still have to get relationships with the local manufacturer, produce grower, farm, whatever, but you still got to do that work. We give you the shipper directory, part of this deal today. I'm giving you 26,000 shippers along with their credit scores, and you can start getting on the phone to try to get some shippers, but the shippers just don't magically appear. I've never known a brokerage that opened the door, turned their phone system on, and the phone started to ring because shippers just wanted to give them business.
Yeah, and it's a big misconception. Brokers do not build a successful business by trying to solicit loads off a load board. There's no shortcuts with this, guys.
Correct.
Load boards are designed predominantly for brokers and carriers to collaborate. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they collaborate. They don't compete, they collaborate. Now, you will occasionally see boards that have shippers on it and shipper direct. I'm going to tell you right now, in all the years I've been a broker, I've never seen a broker or an agent build a successful business by trying to get their customers from a load board. Not one time ever.
Me neither. And I've been doing this for, 25 years.
That's what I'm saying. So never seen it happen. So that's a huge misconception. The way you're going to get your customers is selling, developing relationships, going to visit them, calling them on the phone, emailing them, building that trust. You have to know, like, and trust before somebody's going to do business with you. Okay. So there's no shortcuts to that. If you have a huge aversion to selling, or you're not willing to learn the sales skill, don't become a freight broker. Don't become a freight agent. I'm going to be the first one to tell you that. Okay. Because it is a sales business. As much as there's technology involved here from an operational perspective and from an automation perspective and from the back office perspective, billing and financial management, it's not on the front end. There's still going to be sales involved. Okay. All right. Last question, guys. I think we're going to wrap this up. Last question. But in the meantime, if you guys want to check out the free offer, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. I've said it till I'm blue in the face, because when I pull this down and you don't have access to it later, don't be pissed off at me, right? You got to go take advantage of it now. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. And then in the coupon code, you got to put FBBC. Again, this has been a little ways in, this has been months in the making. I kind of teased you guys a while ago that this was something that was going to happen. I was going to announce this partnership. I'm excited. That's why I had Tim on. I hope you guys found some value here. We've got some people in the audience that are telling you they love Ascend. They've been using Ascend. Eight Wheelers said they just signed up. Okay. They're asking about the shipper list. If you're a new user signing up, where do you see the shipper list?
The blue bar on the left-hand side. It'll if you just signed up, it'll probably take 30 minutes to an hour for it to appear, because this offer, you have to put the coupon in FBBC. If you do that, then it'll appear in the left-hand side, the blue bar. Go to where it says loads, and you'll see the shipper list on the left-hand side. I think it's called shipper directory. Actually, it's called shipper directory.
Yeah, same thing, list or directory. Here's a question from Talisha. I'll launch my business Monday, 3/21. Can I purchase the Freight Broker Bootcamp then? Yeah, Freight Broker Bootcamp is my startup program. It's available 24/7, 365. You can sign up today, and within 3 minutes, you can log in and get access to all of the training. We've trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade, and I offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. If you're not happy, we'll just give your money back. We don't want your money if you're not happy, right? You can go choose another career or go get another training program. Trust me, our refund rate is so low, it'd blow your mind anyway. Very few people ever ask for a refund, but if you do, we'll give you a refund, no problem. You can just check that out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We have a couple different memberships there. You guys can check that out. I strongly suggest the platinum membership, only because not only do you get lifetime access to the training, but you get lifetime support. So the problems and questions that you have today are going to be very different than the problems and questions you have 12 or 18 months from now. But we're still going to answer those questions for you. Okay. So I think you'd be foolish not to, but all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. I'm going to leave this up here on the screen. In the meantime, for those of you that want to sign up, make sure you put the coupon code FBBC if you want access to that offer. Tim, any final words, anything you want to leave the audience with before we wrap it up?
No, the only thing I'll say is that, every business takes grind. Nothing is easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But, with the training materials that you have, Dennis, with the technology that we have, with the partners, the other technology partners that connect into Ascend, you have a good a chance as any to basically make a six-figure income within a year. It's not going to happen in a week, but you have a chance to have a six-figure plus income inside a year if you grind it and work the numbers and start getting on the phone. And you can be an entrepreneur. You don't need 1,000 employees. You can have 1, 2, 3 people and make $100,000 to $300,000 a year and live a very nice life if you follow the program.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you guys have other questions, feel free to type them in the comments. I'll try to come back in over the next week or so and try to respond to them. If we didn't get to your question, I'm sorry about that today. Maybe we'll be able to get you on a future live. And as things evolve, this isn't the last time. I have a feeling that Tim will be a part of this conversation. So as things continue to evolve in the TMS world and with different integrations and things they have going on, I'm going to definitely be having him on more often now that we have this partnership and this relationship in place. So get enrolled in at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS, coupon code FBBC. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next week.